Archaeologists have discovered hundreds of grave goods in the tomb of a Silla princess, buried in the city of Gyeongju, in the North Gyeongsang province of South Korea. Silla was a kingdom founded by Bak Hyeokgeus of Silla, which emerged in 57 BC as one of the three kingdoms of Korea alongside Baek and Goguryeo. Silla was ruled by the Gyeongju Gim dynasty for 586 years, the Miryang Bak Park for 232 years, and the Wolseong Seok for 172 years, until the kingdom's collapse in AD 935 during the reign of the 56th ruler, Gyeongsan of Silla. The discovery was made during ongoing excavations by the Gyeongju Division from the National Research Institute of Cultural Heritage (NRICH) of Tomb No. 44 in the coastal city of Gyeongju, the former capital of the Silla Kingdom. Excavations first started in 2014, having identified the tomb within a medium-sized burial mound containing a stone-piled wooden chamber, now absent of human remains, having deteriorated away to dust, which archaeologists believe dates from the 5th century AD. The latest discoveries consist of a gilt bronze crown, gold chest ornaments, gold earrings and pendants, gilt bronze ornaments, gold and silver bracelets, an ornamental silver knife, and hundreds of stones from the strategy board game Batik, also called Go. Also, among the grave goods were 50 pieces of mica, a mineral that was believed to be an ingredient for youth and longevity in Taoism. An official from NRICH told the Korea Times. The height of the buried person is estimated to be about 150 centimeters, and the small size of the gilt bronze crown and other accessories indicate that the tomb is for a woman. The person also carried an ornamental silver knife instead of an adorned dagger typically found in king's tombs, suggesting that the person could be female. Alongside the burial were also various golden-edged jeweled beetles used to decorate the deceased. The beetles are normally only found in burials of the Silla royalty or elite, suggesting that the burial, along with the high-status grave goods, was that of a royal Silla princess.
A team of archaeologists from the National Institute of Anthropology and History, INAH, have uncovered evidence of the former Maya town of Oxkutzcab, also known as Oaxbutkaj, located in the present-day Oxkutzcab municipality in the Mexican state of Yucatan. Oxkutzcab was a pre-Columbian Maya town, which became a regional capital ruled by the Tutulxo family after the fall of Mayapan in the AD 1440s. Although the Xio collaborated with the Spanish, the town and its temples were demolished, making way for a Spanish colonial town in AD 1550 following the Spanish conquest of the Yucatan. At its center, the Spanish constructed the Parroquia de San Francisco de Asís, a large Franciscan church on where one of the earlier Maya temples may have stood. Little evidence of pre-Columbian Oxkutzcab survives today, but within the wider municipality are several small associated Maya ruins in the surrounding forests. INA archaeologists, led by Pedro Zulic Balam and Tomas Galarreta Negrin, and working in collaboration with the Oxkutzcab City Council, were conducting excavations in the Central Park when they uncovered Maya ceramics, bone samples, and fragments of decorated architectural features that date back almost 1,000 years during the post-classic period. Some of the stone fragments depict important Maya figures, possibly gods or Maya elite, and have been placed in the care of INAH to conduct further studies. The team also found glass and porcelain that represent the intertwining of the development of Oxkutzcab and the colonial town that followed. Archaeologists discover rare bone flute during excavations in Kent. Archaeologists from Cotswold Archaeology have discovered a rare bone flute during excavations in Herne Bay, located in Kent, England. The team were excavating a 61-hectare site in preparation for planned developments south of Hillsborough. Trenching conducted in 2021 found features that date from the Late Bronze Age and Roman periods, and further evidence of medieval activity. Excavations in 2022 have revealed ditches and pits, with spot dating of pottery suggesting activity from the Middle Late Bronze Age through to the Roman period, probably relating to a managed agricultural landscape with a nearby settlement. Archaeologists discover rare bone flute during excavations in Kent. Another area of the site contains postholes of a possible rectangular structure, and evidence of Anglo-Saxon/early medieval occupation that is indicated by pits and postholes, none of which form a discernible structure. The team has also identified two ditches that form an undated large rectilinear enclosure, although the function is yet to be determined. While excavating a medieval pit within the enclosure, archaeologists found a rare bone flute, believed to be a Phippal flute, a class of instrument that includes the modern-day recorder. The flute has been skillfully carved from a sheep/goat tibia shaft and has 5 finger holes along its top and a thumb hole underneath. The researchers suggest that the flute may be missing some form of mouthpiece, but it is otherwise complete and very well preserved. Medieval pottery within the pit has been dated from the 12th to 15th century, which may be an indicator for dating the flute until further studies are conducted. New research reveals oldest ancient Egyptian tomb oriented to winter solstice. A team of archaeologists from the University of Malaga, UMA, and the University of Jaén, UJA, have revealed the oldest ancient Egyptian tomb that is oriented to the winter solstice. The tomb, designated number 33, is located in the necropolis of Kubbat el-Hawa, a site on the western bank of the Nile opposite the city of Aswan. Kubbat el-Hawa served as the resting place of ancient nobles and priests from the Old and Middle Kingdoms of ancient Egypt. Archaeologists have identified a tomb that was oriented to the sunrise of the winter solstice, bathing the interior in light that was intended to house the statue of a governor from the city of Elephantine. The tomb was first excavated between 2008 and 2018 and is believed to be the burial place for Governor Hikabank, who lived during the 12th dynasty around 1830 BC. Studies by UMA using Deluxevo, software that can reproduce the position of the sun with respect to the horizon in ancient times, suggests that the Egyptians were capable of calculating the position of the sun and the orientation of its rays to design their monuments. According to a paper published in the scientific journal Mediterranean Archaeology and Archaeometry, calculating the orientation of the funerary chapel and the location of the statue of the governor was done by using a 1-meter-long 2-cubit pole, a square, and some robes. Speaking of the discovery, a researcher from the University of Malaga said, the tomb perfectly registered the whole solar cycle, related to the idea of rebirth. While the winter solstice meant the beginning of the sunlight victory over darkness, the summer solstice generally coincided with the beginning of the annual flooding of the Nile, hence both events had an important symbolism linked to the resurrection of the deceased governor. Kush was a kingdom in northern Africa, in the region corresponding to modern-day Sudan. The larger region around Kush, later referred to as Nubia, was inhabited 8000 BCE, but the kingdom of Kush rose much later. The Kerma culture, so named after the city of Kerma in the region, is attested as early as 2500 BC, and archaeological evidence from Sudan and Egypt show that Egyptians and the people of Kush region were in contact from the early dynastic period in Egypt. 3150-2613 BCE, onwards. The later civilization defined as Kushite probably evolved from this earlier culture but was heavily influenced by the Egyptians. While the history of the overall country is quite ancient, the kingdom of Kush flourished between circa 1069 BC and 350 CE. The new kingdom of Egypt, 1570 to 1069 BCE, was in the final stages of decline 1069 BCE, which empowered the Kushite city-state of Napata. The Kushites no longer had to worry about incursions into their territory by Egypt because Egypt now had enough trouble managing itself. They founded the kingdom of Kush with Napata as its capital, and Kush became the power in the region while Egypt floundered. Name: the region was known by the Egyptians as Taseti, the land of the bow, in reference to skilled Kushite archers, by the time of the Old Kingdom of Egypt, 2613 to 2181 BCE, and the northern area, bordering Egypt, as Wawat. What Kush was called by its inhabitants at this time is unclear. Perhaps it was always known as Kush, or some variant thereof, since Egyptian inscriptions also refer to it as Kus, Kas, and Kash. The designation Kush seems to be indigenous, while the later name for the same region, Nubia, came most likely from the Egyptians to the north. Kerma and early Kush. The city of Kerma was established in Kush by 2400 BCE. And was powerful enough to threaten Egypt as attested by Egyptian inscriptions and forts built to repel raids from the south. Even so, the kings of Kerma and Egypt established a lucrative trade for both parties, and Egypt relied on Kerma for the import of gold, ebony, incense, exotic animals, and ivory among other luxury items. The Kerma culture is thought to have flourished between 2400 circa 1500 BCE. The Egyptian king Mentuhotep II conquered the region at the beginning of the Middle Kingdom, 2040 to 1782 BCE, but Kerma remained a thriving metropolis and was powerful enough by the time of the Second Intermediate Period of Egypt, 1782 circa 1570 BCE, to threaten Egypt in conjunction with the people known as the Hyksos, who had established themselves as a political and military power in Egypt's northern delta region. Napata. Napata was clearly influenced by Egyptian culture from its very beginning. Rulers were buried beneath pyramid tombs with Egyptian grave goods, making dating certain graves difficult since a relatively recent grave of a Kushite king might contain items from 200 years before his reign. The lack of a written record also makes positive dating difficult. Scholar Derek A. Welsby notes how studying the kingdom of Kush is like a detective story in which a number of disparate and often apparently contradictory facts must be woven into a coherent and plausible narrative of events. Even so, it is clear that Napata was the religious center of the region and became a wealthy city due to trade. A rare collection of bracteates, thin, single-sided medieval coins, has been dug up by a dog near the city of Wałbrzych in southwestern Poland. Experts say the items, which date back to the 13th century, are the first such large discovery in over 100 years. The Wałbrzych branch of the Lower Silesia Heritage Protection Office was alerted by the owner of the dog, named Kush, about his rare find earlier this month. They immediately dispatched a team, including archaeologists from the University of Wrocław, to investigate. The person who contacted us was out walking the dog, Anna Nowakowska-Sutra, the Wałbrzych Heritage Protection Officer, told Gazeta Wyborcza. Kush started digging in the earth, and that was how he reached the jug with the coins. The objects turned out to be medieval bracteates which were preserved in a damaged earthenware pot, the Lower Silesia Heritage Protection Office explained. Preliminary findings date the find to the first half of the 13th century and suggest that the coins were minted in Brandenburg, Saxony, or Silesia. Finding a significant number of coins from this period is an exceptional occurrence, added the office, because new currencies could be issued as often as 2 or 3 times a year, with previous sets of coins being melted down and reminted. The discovered coins are in excellent condition, with mostly clear prints and little damage. Poland's biggest collections of bracteates have previously been in Warsaw and Krakow, but the area of the new find will now become a mecca for medievalists, the Heritage Protection Office predicts. For now, however, they do not want to reveal the precise location of the discovery, to discourage amateur metal detectors from arriving, reports Gazeta Wyborcza. Bracteates, from the Latin bractea, meaning a thin piece of metal, were used as coins in medieval times. They were printed on the obverse, with a concave negative of the image on the reverse. Featuring representations of animals, fantastical designs and elements of architecture, they are an excellent material for medievalist studies, says the Heritage Protection Office. The idea of stamping coins from a thin plate was caused by the low availability of silver or, more rarely, gold, and the reserves of the mint. Kings, dukes, and bishops could mint coins, the Heritage Protection Office explains. Only with the discovery of silver deposits near Prague did the euro of medieval Europe, the Prague groschen, begin to be minted, which gradually took over from bracteates. The coins are archaeological heritage and will therefore eventually make their way into a museum rather than onto the numismatic market. First, however, they need to be properly studied and conserved, which will require time as well as academic grants. As for Kush the dog, with his skills in mind, archaeologists are already making inquiries about his participation in excavations, the Heritage Protection Office joked.